Welcome back to the channel. This is Trinity Storm and you are watching first part of What If Naruto Was Betrayed and Destroyed Konoha. If you enjoyed this video, please like, share and subscribe to the channel. Now wasting no more time, let's start the story.
The figure was sitting in Spring Country, in a small public cafe called The Whirlpool, sipping tea and waiting for another person who was supposed to arrive. It had been nearly 4 years since he had seen this person face to face, and it took all of this man's mental fortitude not to slash the expected guest's head off the moment he saw him. It's not surprising given the betrayal of 4 years ago. After years of being mentally and physically abused by his village, the warrior expected to be praised for proving them wrong. To finally be recognized by those who once scorned him and to be given the recognition he so desperately desired after years of being denied so much. Unfortunately, all of his efforts to be loyal to the village had resulted in nothing. Nothing but empty pockets paid for with his blood, sweat, and tears, as well as his own broken body after bringing that ungrateful Uchiha all the way back to Konaha. It wasn't enough that he had followed the Hokage's orders to the letter and handed the spoiled son of a bitch over to the powers that be like a gift, minus the pretty red bow wrapped around his head like a present sent by Kami. The orders were to return one Uchiha Sasuke to Konaha. If the target resists for whatever reason, force is authorized. You're a difficult man to contact, Gaki. You never call, you never write. How do you expect me to contact you? Said an elderly man sitting in front of the first figure. You don't. You were only able to find me because I allowed you to find me, Jiraiya. I don't want to be in your presence any longer than I have to from now on, replied the figure while sipping some more tea with the Sannin in front of him, letting out a boastful laugh and acting like they were old friends to those around them. That's funny, Gaki. Honestly, you know how to make me laugh. Exclaimed Jiraiya of the Sannin, looking at the tall, well-muscled figure in front of him, wearing an eye patch over his right eye, the second narrowing coldly at him. Knock it off, Jiraiya. If you're going to be in my presence for a short time, stop acting like a lecherous fool and talk to me like an actual man. Said the figure coldly, as Jiraiya stopped the fake smile and laughter while looking deadly serious. Fine. If that's what you want. I can be serious too. Naruto, Jiraiya countered, with the figure now identified as Naruto keeping his one entire eye on the Sannin. Word has it you wanted to talk to me about something? Something pertaining to the importance of Konoha? Asked Naruto, his face expressionless. Somewhere else. Not here. Too many eyes and ears, Jiraiya replied, rising to his feet and expecting Naruto to do the same. No, Naruto replied, his gaze drawn to Jiraiya. Excuse me? Jiraiya asked, surprised by the unexpected challenge. Is your hearing failing you? I said no. Sit down and tell me everything or this will be the last time the two of us have a civil conversation ever again. Replied Naruto, jabbing his finger onto the table and giving the Sannin a serious look. And risk being overheard by potential enemy spies? Jiraiya asked, with Naruto just smirking at him. That's your problem, Jiraiya. Not mine. I'm not a Konoha agent, so I don't have to worry if anything said here reaches any enemies of that pathetic village, Naruto replied, his eyes narrowing at him. You have a lot of nerve calling Konoha pathetic, Naruto, Jiraiya said as he sat back down, scowling. And you have a lot of guts asking for my help in saving Konoha after everything they've put me through, or is your vision so bad you can't see my eye patch that hides the symbol of their betrayal? Of your betrayal? Of Tsunade's betrayal? Asked Naruto as the sun seemed to move away from the cloud slightly and the light in the sky seemed to beam itself onto his face to show the eye patch clearly for the Sannin. What do you want me to say about that? That I'm sorry? That Tsunade's sorry? Jiraiya asked impassively, while Naruto laughed again. No, I don't expect any kind of apology from you or the old bitch. You two are incapable of it and wouldn't mean what you say if you said it anyway, so what's the point of wanting you to say what you can't and won't say to me unless they're empty and meaningless? Countered Naruto, Jiraiya's eyes narrowing at him. Don't call Tsunade that again, Jiraiya said, smirking at Naruto. Why? Because it's true? Or because after all this time you still want what she won't give you in any shape or form? Naruto asked, Jiraiya furious. I mean it, Naruto. Call her that again, and I'll rip out your heart in public for all to see, Jiraiya replied, and Naruto laughed. Go ahead and try. My heart has no value to me anymore. It's been abused so many times that it has nothing to contribute to my life or anyone else's for that matter, Naruto replied calmly, staring back uncaringly at the Sannin for what seemed like several long minutes. We're getting off topic. Back to the business at hand, Jiraiya finally said, with Naruto simply shrugging because he didn't care. Might as well, Naruto said, so what's this business about Konoha needing me to save them? Jiraiya sighed and looked around quickly. Ever since Konoha did what they did to you, things have been going downhill for us in general. Allies have left us. Trading rights with other countries have been ruined. Hell, I'm only allowed to be in Spring Country right now, and even that is for a limited time, Jiraiya explained, with Naruto scoffing. What did you expect when I was beaten up for a job well done? What did you expect when I decided to leave the village to prevent my chakra from being sealed off and to be thrown away into some cold dark dungeon with no chance of ever seeing daylight again? Naruto asked, Jiraiya tense. So you heard about that, huh? Jiraiya asked, with Naruto nodding. Shadow clones make the best spies, Naruto replied, shaking his head. Only you would use them like that, Jiraiya replied, with a nod of respect for him. So, what happened after I left the village and everything went to shit? Naruto inquired, Jiraiya becoming more serious. Within a year of your departure, the Leaf was attacked over 200 times, and on all fronts. Iwa, Kumo, and Orochimaru all hit us in different places at different times either day or night. On the second year of your banishment, Sasuke made another attempt at going rogue again to chase after Itachi, and another team was sent after him, Jiraiya explained with Naruto nodding. I know. He made it to the border of Rice Country in the hopes of meeting up with your former teammate and harnessing the power of his curse seal in order to one day kill his big brother, Naruto replied, leaving the Sannin stunned. How do you know that? Jiraiya asked, smirking at Naruto. Who do you think left him a mangled wreck for the retrieval team to pick up all gift wrapped in a bow? Again. There's a reason why the fool won't tell anyone who defeated him in combat that day, Naruto replied, leaving Jiraiya stunned. You put the retrieval team in quite a pickle, Naruto, after they returned to Konoha with Sasuke, because the councils wanted each shinobi demoted or executed for the damage done to the Uchiha, Jiraiya replied, with Naruto smirking. I know. I sent a shadow clone under a henge to observe things in Konoha when that happened. Word spread throughout the village like wildfire about their punishment. Half were demoted, and the other half were executed publicly in front of everyone. It was an interesting experience to be among the crowd, watching them cheer for the death of loyal shinobi who were only doing their job. Jiraiya exclaimed, bastard. As Naruto smirked at him. That's the pot calling the kettle black, Jiraiya. Besides, you're lucky I even decided to let you have the Uchiha in one piece, let alone alive to see another sunrise and still be even remotely capable of breeding with one of his ever-shallow fangirls who are only interested in the Uchiha clan name, Naruto countered, the Sannin showing restraint in wanting to lash out at him. As you were gone from Konoha for the third year, the Akatsuki made their move against the other villages, and were seeking to take other 8 Jinchuriki. Some of the Jinchuriki have gone missing, and some of them are still in their own village being protected from the Akatsuki, Jiraiya explained, with Naruto nodding. And some of them are dead or presumed dead, Naruto added, with Jiraiya grunting because he had planned to leave such information on purpose. Then, about 6 months ago, I heard word of a rising power lurking in the shadows of the elemental countries that has almost all the daimyos nervous, practically scared out of their minds and ready to piss themselves silly at the mere mention of this single being who is said to be wielding incredible power on a level not seen since the Sage of Six Paths first walked the lands, Jiraiya continued, Naruto smirking even more. You're referring to rumors about the Shogun of Shadows, Naruto replied, his face tense and Jiraiya making a shushing motion. Quiet, you idiot. Don't say his name so loudly for everyone to hear. The man has spies just about everywhere throughout the elemental countries. Even my spy network is no match for this guy. He's already had several of them removed before I could get any valuable intel on the guy. Exclaimed Jiraiya, while Naruto laughed. Your spy network is getting old if they can't find anything on him, and to have some of your spies killed in the process? Tisk, tisk, tisk. For shame Jiraiya, Naruto replied, the Sannin grimacing because he was correct. It's not outdated yet. I still have some intel on Konaha, Jiraiya countered, raising an eyebrow at Naruto. Really? Naruto inquired, his voice full of curiosity. One of my spies came to me near death and told me the Shogun of Shadows is planning an attack on Konaha out of spite. When I asked for the Shogun's identity, my spy tried to tell me the Shogun's name, but the man's life gave out, and I was left with only that small yet critical piece of information, Jiraiya said, Naruto nodding. And you want me to come back to Konaha to make the Shogun of Shadows think twice about doing anything to the leaf? What's in it for me? Inquired Naruto, with Jiraiya's eyes twinkling with hope. In exchange for your assistance, Tsunade has promised that all crimes you are currently charged with will be expunged, a sizable sum of money will be given, and a seat among the other clan heads. All in all, it's a sweet deal, Jiraiya said with a partially fake smile on his face that Naruto could see right through. Crimes against Konoha? What supposed crimes, Jiraiya? Care to name a few? Asked Naruto, with Jiraiya not pleased that he was dissecting the offer. Aside from hurting the Uchiha 4 years ago during the retrieval mission? There are charges of deserting the leaf, conspiracy to betray the leaf, attacking civilians, and the attempted murder of several Konoha shinobi, Jiraiya replied, with Naruto nodding as each charge was read to him. First and foremost, those charges are a load of nonsense. I did what was required of me for that mission to bring the Uchiha back. Tsunade said it herself. The use of force was authorized for that mission. I left Konoha because it was either leave or suffer before being killed. I chose to live on my terms. Not Konoha's, not yours, and not Tsunade's. My terms. There were charges regarding that incident, but we let them drop because at the time of the discussion you were considered to most likely die from your injuries, and we decided to use the attempted murder charge in the event you survived the fall from that cliffside, said Jiraiya, seeing his godson with his 2 eyes for the first time since that day when Kakashi threw that exploding tag at the ground in front of Naruto, causing the boy to fall with the rubble way down below. They weren't Naruto, after all, and they always managed to pull off the impossible. So basically, you can pardon me for all of those mentioned charges listed, then arrest me for the murder of those leaf shinobi. I don't get paid any money owed for my services rendered, and you strip me of my so-promised clan head position, Naruto replied, drawing a grimace from Jiraiya. We wouldn't do it. Tsunade wouldn't do it, Jiraiya said, pausing when Naruto gave him an icy glare. She can and would. Do not mistake me for some naive fool, Jiraiya. Those days are long dead and over, remember? Naruto shot back, Jiraiya sighing. Well, Konoha needs your help, Naruto. Will you at least think about it? I can convince the Hokage to pardon you for all the crimes the people will want to charge you with, Jiraiya offered, with Naruto scoffing. You have the audacity to try to bribe me into helping you for the mess you and the other people in Konoha made for yourselves. Why should I give a damn about that shithole? Said Naruto, Jiraiya's eyes narrowing. Because it's your home, Jiraiya replied, Naruto growling at him. You mean it was my prison? One I escaped from in order to stop suffocating. The people in Konoha don't like it when they don't get their way, and my escape was just that. Them not getting their way because the people in the village wanted me dead or wishing to Kami I had died. My defiance of their wishes was like a slap to the face, and they don't like it. I know they want me back just so they can feel safe. If that's how you see it, Jiraiya replied, Naruto's gaze narrowing at him. Go back to that bitch you call a Hokage and tell her you failed in your mission to bring back the village's stray pet and that any use of force on her part to bring me back will result in the heads of every shinobi she sends being dropped off at her doorstep, Naruto said before Jiraiya moved to strike him and the Uzumaki moved even faster to counter the strike by grabbing the outstretched arm holding a kunai in hand. Naruto's left hand was in Jiraiya's line of sight, wearing a metal gauntlet with 3 claws emerging from their hidden location, the sharp ends less than an inch from the Sannin's face, and the intent to kill clear in the Uzumaki's one blue eye. Jiraiya, for one, was surprised Naruto could move so quickly and easily, and he was beginning to wonder what kind of training his godson had received. Don't call Tsunade that again, Naruto. I mean it. Exclaimed Jiraiya, who was met with a smirk from Naruto. I'll call her whatever I want whether you're around to hear me say it or not, and I suggest you order the team of Konoha shinobi you brought with you to stand down. Or your bitch of a Hokage will have to explain to the Spring Daimyo why Konoha shinobi are here when they know they're clearly unwelcome here, Naruto replied in a dangerous tone, seeing Jiraiya's surprise. You knew Konoha shinobi was with me? Jiraiya asked, smirking at Naruto. I know a lot of things, but how many came with you? 10? 15? All of them are Junin, right? Naruto asked, Jiraiya frowning. 16 Konoha shinobi if you count me, Jiraiya replied, with Naruto smirking at him. Actually, it's 15 now if I include you, Naruto replied, with Jiraiya looking enraged. You killed one of them. Jiraiya charged, while Naruto smirked at him. Your point? Konoha shinobi aren't allowed in this country by the Spring Daimyo's order and are to be killed on sight. I simply had my shadow clone kill your now dead Junin and henge into him while listening in on the others listening in on us. Even now they're no doubt scrambling to find out which one of their numbers has been killed all the while trying not to draw attention to themselves, Naruto replied, tightening his grip on Jiraiya. Your window of opportunity to become a Konoha shinobi again has just closed, Naruto, Jiraiya said, as the Uzumaki grinned furrily at the Sannin. Good. I don't want your so-called opportunity, Jiraiya. It's a cruel joke meant to be played on me. Go back to the Hokage like the good obedient and whipped pet you are, Sannin. Tell your master and those who rule over her. This is Konoha's chance to beg for mercy, said Naruto before throwing Jiraiya into a nearby wall and scattering the people around them. I tried to be civil with you, Gaki. I offered you a chance to return and all would be forgiven for your actions, but you've decided to take the hard way in life and be a pain in Konoha's ass. Exclaimed Jiraiya, who had been staring at Naruto and his outfit since they first started talking. Gone was the naive, short, blonde-haired, blue-eyed, orange-loving, and even orange-wearing Uzumaki. Gone was the kid who boasted about being Hokage and ate ramen like a fat kid ate free chocolate cake from an assembly line. Gone was the kid who lacked chakra control, knew so few jutsus, and summoned the toad boss Gamabunta by chance. In his place stood a shinobi battlefield warrior. Naruto now wore black with orange flames around him in shinobi attire, with several pieces of armor around his shoulder and legs resembling that of a samurai. He walked with heavy steps now, implying that the Uzumaki in front of him was also wearing weights, and very heavy ones at that. His head was adorned with a shinobi helmet piece that oddly resembled that of an orange fox with red eyes, and a closer examination of Naruto's appearance revealed that the orange flames in his design weren't flames at all. It was tails. The clawed gauntlet that had been near Naruto's face earlier was on his left hand, and it had 3 jagged-edged blades for claws. That the Sannin knew from the look of them could do some serious damage. The right hand was also a gauntlet, but it lacked claws, and it was then Jiraiya noticed the sword at the Uzumaki's waist. It was emitting a demonic aura now, just like the rest of Naruto, and the eye patch had a red light behind it. As if the eye patch was the only thing preventing the incredible power from erupting from the optic hole. Before Jiraiya could think about it any further, Naruto vanished and reappeared in front of him, sword drawn. The sword itself was marked on both sides and crackled with a yellowish to crimson electricity. Jiraiya had heard stories about this sword and the person currently wielding it when the Akatsuki came looking for him after he had been declared a missing nin of Konoha for 4 years. The zombie brothers of the Akatsuki, who many thought were unbeatable due to their own unique powers, were the first to fall to Naruto and collect the bounty at the exchange station. It was a neutral organization that took no sides in the shinobi world, but ironically was funded by all of them with the purpose of paying whoever collected the bounty on any missing nin in the bingo book, and were expected to pay whoever came to collect the bounty of the marked target, provided there was proof. It was widely known that the 2 Akatsuki members Naruto killed had a high price on their heads. Naruto emerged from the exchange station as a wealthy man. This irritated Konoha and the Akatsuki for completely different reasons. That sword. The sword of the Jubi! Exclaimed Jiraiya upon seeing the weapon rumored to be in Whirlpool but never found despite man's best efforts, and was thought to be lost forever. Also known as the sword of the Archfiend. I'm glad you heard of it. This weapon was said to be forged from one of the fangs taken off the actual Jubi by the Sage of Sixth Path. Because its power is so great.
Only someone of direct bloodline lineage to the Sage of Sixth Path can wield it to its full potential, Naruto replied, Jiraiya burning the memory of the sword into his brain to tell Tsunade about it.
Assuming he survived his time with Naruto. Where did you find it? Jiraiya asked, smirking at Naruto. At a gravesite at the base of Whirlpool's tallest mountain, an ancient gravesite older than Whirlpool and all of the elemental countries as we know them, I saw the spirit of the one who wielded this sword before me and was waiting for his successor to wield it, Naruto explained, Jiraiya looking from the sword to his godson. I see. It was said that the Uzumaki's clan, like the Uchiha and Senju, were descended from the Sage of Six Paths bloodline. That there was a third son, but while this man was of the sage's blood, the sage himself did not acknowledge him as one of his children for unknown reasons, and gave the rumored son for that bloodline absolutely nothing prior to his death. That the third son was considered an illegitimate one, unlike his 2 other sons. My predecessor's name was Uzumaki Genshin. Unfortunately, he felt none of his own children, or his grandchildren were worthy of wielding the sword of Jubi. He died with it in a secret burial spot at the base of Whirlpool's tallest mountain. The man literally buried himself with the last of his strength to ensure no one knew where the sword lay as his grave marker. That's where he went. And the spirit he alluded to. Was it Uzumaki Genshin? Did that spirit teach him anything? Jiraiya thought as Naruto turned around and walked away. It was there, Jiraiya, that I felt my Uzumaki blood become lit aflame and could hear the cries of my kin calling out for justice. Among those cries, one stood out above all others, and followed the voice that led me to the base of the mountain where Genshin Grave Sensei's was marked by this sword. His spirit stood before me and looked down to see the broken body that was the last of his bloodline. So you're more of an enemy to Konoha than a friend, Jiraiya concluded, as Naruto laughed hollowly. Foolish Sannin, I was always Konoha's enemy after the village betrayed me for the last time. Do not expect our next encounter to be so civil. Next time. I'll kill you, Naruto replied, Jiraiya looking at him. You cocky brat. Just because you have the power of Kyuubi sealed inside your body and the sword of Jubi doesn't make you invincible. When the time comes for us to fight, I'll personally take your head off, exclaimed Jiraiya while forming a Rasengan in his hand to further intimidate Naruto. Really? Exclaimed Naruto before he was gone and in front of Jiraiya again. That's quite a threat, Jiraiya. Quite a good threat actually. Still, the threat itself seems to lack something. I know. Only this time, Jiraiya cried out in pain as solid steel cut through flesh, blood splattered everywhere, and the Sannin clutched his face in pain. Naruto's left arm was arched, the claws of the gauntlet he was wearing glowing with crimson chakra thanks to Kyuubi. Before Jiraiya could even think about what had happened in this moment of agony, Naruto delivered a solid knee strike to the Sannin's torso, sending the man doubling over onto his knees. What was that for? Jiraiya asked, his fingers dripping blood onto the ground as he gripped his face. I thought it was obvious at this point. I'm giving you an incentive to kill me the next time we meet. I'm giving Konoha, its shinobi, civilians, councils, and clan heads an incentive to kill me. I'm even giving your bitch of a Hokage whom you can only look at but never touch an incentive to kill me the next time we all meet, Naruto explained before disappearing in a swirl of Kyuubi's crimson chakra. Could this day possibly get any worse? Thought Jiraiya as he found himself surrounded by samurai on patrol for the spring daimyo. Jiraiya of the Sannin, you are under arrest, said the group's samurai captain before the others escorted him to the palace where their ruler would decide his fate. Yep. It just got worse, Jiraiya thought, hoping the leaf shinobi with him could flee. Throne room of the spring daimyo. You have a lot of guts to come here to my land, Sannin. And with Konoha shinobi no less, when everyone knows they are banned from my country, Kazuhana Koyuki said, mocking Jiraiya and the leaf shinobi, who were bound on their knees before her throne, chakra-blocking devices on each of them so they would be shocked if they tried to use any of the energy. The samurai surrounding them were armed with swords to further influence the shinobi on the ground to be compliant, while Jiraiya stood in front of them as their leader. When they learned that their daimyo's hero had been betrayed and nearly killed by Konoha, a massive anti-Konoha movement erupted throughout all of Spring Country. Koyuki had personally written a detailed 10-page letter to the Fire Daimyo, expressing her rage at Konoha's shinobi's hypocritical actions, the brave actions Naruto had performed while in her country, and how she was suspending all trade with Fire Country until justice was served. No mercy was to be shown to any Konoha shinobi who dared to enter her lands for any reason and would be aware of her displeasure at their presence. Of course, the Fire Daimyo wrote back, pleading with her to reconsider what she was doing, but Koyuki wouldn't hear of it, and when they met for negotiations, she expressed her complete disdain for Fire Country. To add insult to injury, she tore up her contract with Jiraiya to appear in his Icha Icha Paradise movie. Right in front of the Sannin. I assure you, Koyuki-sama, my intentions for being here in Spring Country were strictly professional, Jiraiya said, her eyes narrowing in disgust. And the Konoha shinobi behind you? Asked Koyuki, with Jiraiya sheepishly laughing like the fool he played to make people feel sorry for him. They're my bodyguards. Konoha has a lot of enemies after all, with many wanting to see me taken out to weaken the Leaf Village, and while I'm no pushover. You can never be too careful, replied Jiraiya, with Koyuki still looking disgusted. And for several good reasons, one of which is close to my heart and the hearts of nearly every other influential leader throughout the elemental countries, Koyuki said, making Jiraiya laugh sheepishly once more. Yeah, I guess that's true, Jiraiya admitted, making Koyuki even angrier. Drop the act, Jiraiya. Naruto already warned me that you would play the fool in order to make yourself appear pathetic and pitiful in my eyes, that I might take pity on you and your shinobi bodyguards, here with you. Well, I'm not going to take pity on you or your bodyguards, here in the least. You can return to Konoha alone, Jiraiya, with what is left of your scarred face and wounded. Wait. You can't kill them. The loss of so many Junin-level shinobi will significantly weaken the leaf. Exclaimed Jiraiya, with Koyuki staring him down with a "I don't care" expression. Then you shouldn't have brought so many Junin-level shinobi to my shores. Take him away now. Commanded Koyuki, with her samurai and all the Konoha shinobi following her orders. Commanding as ever, I see, Koyuki-chan, Naruto said as he emerged from the shadows, a smile on his face hidden by the black cloth that covered everything except his one eye. I had a good teacher, Naruto-kun, Koyuki replied as she saw her country's champion walk up beside her and gently kiss her hand. If I may, I would like to make a request regarding those leaf shinobi? Naruto asked, his eyebrow raised by Koyuki. Oh. What is the request? Koyuki inquired, Naruto smiling from behind the black cloth. I'd like to be the one who executes them, Naruto replied, while Koyuki pondered. Why not? I don't see why you can't. Besides, I'm sure those leaf shinobi were among all those who hurt and demeaned you growing up. I think it's only fair you return the favor properly, Koyuki replied, Naruto kissing her hand once more. You are as wise and beautiful as you are kind, Naruto said, making Koyuki laugh. Keep that up, and you'll see how kind I can be in bed tonight, Koyuki said with a seductive smile on her face, while Naruto laughed. I'm looking forward to it, Naruto replied before returning to the shadows, and Koyuki sighed contentedly, knowing how the man was when they were together. Now if only I didn't have to share him with several other women. Oh well. If I didn't share him, I'd be too sore to get out of bed in the morning, or walk properly during the day, Koyuki thought to herself, smiling, because the young warrior did have the stamina that women would kill for to have in their man. Konaha a little later. What happened, Jiraiya? Tsunade wondered as she noticed the Sannin had returned to Konoha after the samurai beating, bloodied from the hard hitters, and with a scarred face. The good news is that I made contact with Naruto. The bad news is that he basically told me that you should shove the offer I was going to convey to him up your ass, Jiraiya replied, slightly wincing due to the injury that Tsunade had moved to heal, but found it was not healing at all, and seemed to glow crimson red when she tried. I trust those were his words, not yours? Tsunade inquired, with Jiraiya making a noise that indicated that was his way of putting it in a nutshell. No, but that's what Naruto basically thought of it before he did this to my face moments before leaving, Jiraiya replied, seeing Tsunade frown at the failed healing attempt. So the brat was in Spring Country, as we suspected, Tsunade replied with a growl. Oh yeah. He was there all right, and trust me, Tsunade. No, he's longer a mere brat. Not anymore, Jiraiya replied before explaining what happened with Naruto's speed being greater than his own in the Sword of Jubi, or Archfiend as it was known among ancient sword legends. Damn him! Exclaimed Tsunade, blaming Naruto for many things in her life, including Konoha's greatness. During Kyuubi's attack, Konoha is destroyed. The fox escaped due to Kushina's death during her pregnancy. In the aftermath, her sensei was forced to come out of retirement. Because the Uchiha were planning a coup, she even blamed Naruto for the Uchiha massacre. To seize control of Konoha because so many people distrusted them because of their clan bloodline's connection to Kyuubi via the Sharingan eyes. Even the Sandame's death she blamed on Naruto for being elsewhere when he should have been in Konoha defending it rather than fighting another weakened Jinchuriki outside its walls that several other shinobi were chasing. Hokage-sama? Shizune asked, walking into the office and seeing Tsunade struggling to heal Jiraiya's face. What? Tsunade asked angrily as she discovered her healing abilities were being repelled from healing the scars that were meant to be a permanent mark on Jiraiya's face. There's a large box here addressed to you. From the spring daimyo herself, Shizune replied uneasily, as two chunin carried the box into the room. Open it, ordered Tsunade, with the chunin opening the box and stepping back, Tsunade seeing the contents before bursting out laughing. What's inside the box? Every Junin-level Konoha shinobi who accompanied Jiraiya to Spring Country. And one more thing. Hello there, old lady. It's been 4 years since that fateful day. I was hoping you'd leave me alone, but that was too much to ask when you sent the pervert to find me and deliver your so-called offer in exchange for my assistance in fending off this new enemy you've irritated. Did you really expect me to accept your pitiful little offer when I returned? That I'd return to Konaha like the deafening if you thought I'd return as a humble pet, you're clearly the stupid one between us. That day, you, Jiraiya, the clan heads, and pretty much everyone else in Konoha betrayed me. Now you're all alone and in danger of being wiped out by your enemies, with no one to help you. It must be difficult for the village to fight so many enemies with no help from anyone in the 4 years since you betrayed me. Welcome to my old world, where I've spent the last 12 years of my life, and your new hell. I've signed my displeasure. Naruto Uzumaki. P.S. If you haven't guessed it by now, I was the one who killed them all. Every leaf shinobi in that box died with shocked and horrified expressions on their faces. They died like cowards, pleading with me for mercy and saying things they didn't mean. I simply thought you should be aware. Tsunade yelled, "Damn you Naruto!" as she tore up his letter and slammed her fist on the Hokage's death beside her. It's just one bad thing after another, Jiraiya thought as he looked at each Konoha shinobi in the box and saw the horror on their faces. At an unknown location. Are we all in agreement? Do you all believe the time has come to attack Konoha? Asked the leader of the group in front of him. He was the Shadow Shogun. We do, Shogun-sama, said a female voice clearly prepared for battle. Will this be a problem for you, my red-eyed weasel? I know how you feel about certain things concerning Konoha, asked the Shogun of Shadows, shaking his head at the man to his right. I have tried everything in my power to protect Konoha. To protect the salvation of my clan, I destroyed, with the fruits of my labor being poisoned beyond repair. There is only one true path that stands before me now, and I will do whatever I must when walking it, replied the figure, the Shogun nodding. How long until Akatsuki is completely destroyed from within? Inquired the Shogun, as Itachi examined something in front of him. Soon. Our two key players in its liquidation, aside from myself, are in position, but Toba's patience with the organization's fumbling and failure to capture all the Jinchuriki is running thin. We should step up our timetable a bit, and ensure nothing of the organization is left to rebuild from, the figure replied, with the Shogun nodding. The statue? The Shogun inquired, knowing that it was the key to capturing the Biju. A few dozen explosive tags in its key structural points should completely destroy it. The three-tailed Biju was sealed in there after the previous Mizukage's death once it manifested a year ago. Once the statue is destroyed, the Biju shouldn't reappear for another 3 years, and will once more manifest in the water, explained the now former Akatsuki agent. That's fine. Let the Biju live as it wishes once it manifests. How are things in Iwa and Kumo right now? Asked the Shogun, as papers were shuffled around him. We're both itching for a fight with Konoha, but Iwa isn't being as cooperative as we hoped, so we're planning to attack without your permission, Shogun-sama, said a gruff man with a red beard that glistened in the candlelight. No doubt they are doing it to me out of vengeance for taking you and Han away from Iwa because I didn't tolerate them treating either of you like mindless weapons, Roshi, replied the Shogun of Shadows, with Roshi from Iwa nodding. That, and you beat the Sandaime Tsuchikage to within an inch of his life when he tried to stop you from taking us away from Iwa, Roshi added, nodding to the Shogun. Fortunately, his granddaughter was able to temporarily take over for him, and agreed to let the two of you come with me, but now it appears the Sandaime Tsuchikage has decided to stop waiting for us to make our move. For someone notoriously known as the fence-sitter, he is not living up to his reputation, and I suspect it is because old wounds opened up do that to people, replied the Shogun, with many in his council nodding. Kumo is on board. All they want is at least one Hyuga, said the previous female voice, and the Shogun noticed her cat-like eyes glow. And the Raikage will have one. I am a man of my word. All I ask in return is that the Hyuga he gets is not the one I want, the Shogun replied, with the woman nodding because that was the deal they made. I'll remind him of that, Shogun-sama, the woman said simply. Thank you. And there is one last piece of business regarding Orochimaru, the Shogun replied, with the others nodding. He's still up and about, surviving like the common parasite we all know him to be in life, a red-haired, bespectacled woman explained. Has anyone tried to contact him? Asked the Shogun, to which the red-haired woman nodded. Konaha sent him a message asking for his help against you. They are promising him full immunity for all past crimes and a chance to continue his experiments in Konoha as long as they are all inmates at the prison, the woman explained as the Shogun growled. Hypocrites, all of them. Let the Sannin go to Konoha. We'll gut every single one of his bases before he's halfway there, the Shogun replied, with everyone nodding. And Iwa and their growing impatience? Roshi inquired after the Shogun fell silent for a moment. Once the Akatsuki is gone, we'll deal with Iwa, and Nagato and Konan will make sure the Tsuchikage is humbled, the Shogun replied, with the group nodding. After the meeting, the shadow forms of the Shogun's trusted members of his council vanished, leaving only the Shogun himself. He lingered in the darkness for a moment longer before walking to his private quarters at his base and looking over the map that represented his vision of the future. With the exception of a few good daimyos, all were weak and fearful men who couldn't control their own countries while ruling over their respectful territories. For far too long, the world had been divided, scattered, and lacking in a leader capable of uniting the people. That's what the Shogun of Shadows saw when he compared the current map of the world to his vision laying next to it. He closed his eyes and ran his hand over his vision, imagining the dawn of his rule rising from the ashes of the old one. When this occurred, he had supporters stationed at all key points, each waiting for him to give the signal to make their moves, which together would bring about a global change in the landscape of how it was ruled. The daimyo's time of answering to no one but themselves for their actions was drawing to a close. It was now the beginning of the Shogun's era. Naruto panted heavily as he dragged Sasuke behind him with what little strength he had left after dealing with the Chidori's wound to his chest and the crick in his neck from the piledriver to the rock floor at the Valley of the End. When it came to life-threatening injuries like his, being a Jinchuriki was an advantage at times, and he had to give the fox credit for healing him. Even if Kyuubi despised it, Naruto had a feeling the Biju was relieved to have knocked the Uchiha off the pedestal the leaf had placed him on. Trust me, Sasuke. It's best if you stay here in Konoha. That Orochimaru guy screams bad news in every shape and form, Naruto said as he dragged Sasuke behind him through Konoha's gate before dropping to his knees and gasping for air. Almost immediately, Leaf Shinobi appeared before whisking Sasuke away for immediate medical attention, but what irritated Naruto was that no one came to help him when he was in far worse condition, and the majority of the blood on Sasuke wasn't Uchiha blood. Shrugging it off for the time being, Naruto made his way to his apartment because doctors and nurses at the hospital tend to ignore him regardless of his current state of health when he was younger. The blonde had learned as a child to patch himself up long enough for the fox to do his thing and heal his injuries. And Anbu was at the door less than 15 minutes after Naruto had been healed enough to walk with minimal pain, and Naruto could tell the man despised his guts. The way he stood, the aura the Anbu gave off, and the twitch of his hand by his kunai holster were all dead giveaways. "The Hokage wishes to speak with you, brat," said the Anbu, his voice tinged with rage. "When?" Naruto asked, his Anbu slightly growling. "Now," exclaimed the Anbu before departing, Naruto grumbling. "Jerk," Naruto thought to himself before heading out to see the Hokage, hoping for good news for once. The Hokage Tower. "You little shit. You went against my orders," yelled Tsunade as she hurled a paperweight at Naruto, who barely avoided it. "What are you talking about, Granny? You authorized the use of force if Sasuke resisted, and guess what? He resisted," said Naruto, as Tsunade tried to smash him to pieces with her fists. "And that gives you the right to use Kyuubi's power?" exclaimed Tsunade before landing a blow to the boy's head and sending him flying into the wall. "And let him kill me? He was using that curse seal of his when I was holding back, and then upped the power when I used Kyuubi's chakra to defend myself from his intention to kill me," countered Naruto, but Tsunade was too far gone to hear him, as she grabbed him and repeatedly struck him with her fists. "Until I summon you to face my judgment for your transgressions against the Uchiha, you will be under house arrest in your apartment, under the watch of the Anbu, and if you so much as step out of that door to investigate a noise, they will kill you," Tsunade ordered, Naruto smiling at her as blood drained from his mouth. "So you're one of them, huh? You hate me for holding the Kyuubi just like they do. I thought you'd be different after all I've done for you. Saving your life from Kabuto, getting over your fear of blood, and winning that bet that inspired you to become the next Hokage. Instead, you're just another Uchiha-loving Kyuubi-hating hypocrite," Naruto replied before spitting blood in her face, the shock of the move making. "Jiraiya!" exclaimed Tsunade angrily, as Jiraiya appeared through the same window Naruto had just left. "That didn't go very well," the Sannin observed as Tsunade wiped the blood from his face. "That brat dares to spit his own blood at me? He's lucky I don't order his death right now. No, that would be too merciful. After what he's done, I want him to suffer, and suffer dearly for his transgressions," Tsunade said as she sat in her chair and noticed the man waiting for orders. "What do you have in mind?" Jiraiya asked, as Tsunade narrowed her eyes in thought. "Seal up his chakra, all of it. I want him to be powerless, and then you will send him to our maximum security cells," Tsunade said with a knowing look in her eyes, while Jiraiya nodded in agreement. "They'll rip him apart," Jiraiya replied, though it was clear Tsunade didn't care, and to be honest, neither did he. "The boy deserves no less. He robbed me of Kushina on the night of his birth, and he robbed you of Minato on the same night. Sensei was forced back into office instead of retiring as he deserved after a year of loyal service to the people, and now the Uchiha is back, but in the hospital, and Shizune is treating his wounds while I deal with him," exclaimed Tsunade, with Jiraiya nodding. "When do you want me to do this, and how long will he be locked up?" Jiraiya asked, Tsunade looking at him as if she wished fire could shoot from her eyes. "Get him tomorrow morning while he's sleeping. As for how long, it'll be for the rest of his days," Tsunade replied, with Jiraiya nodding. "Good. It gives me time to prepare the proper sealing arrangements to seal off Naruto's chakra and Kyuubi's chakra as well, just in case he tries to call on them for help," Jiraiya said before exiting through the window. Unbeknownst to either of them, a little bird was chirping on the edge of the window before flying away and going poof in mid-flight, along with Naruto. Naruto felt the memories of the shadow clone reach him and was glad he had it hidden beneath the henge of a common Konoha bird so it wouldn't be noticed. Any bird native to any village would inevitably land on the windowsill of Akage's office. Naruto could hear their entire conversation with his shadow clone and get the memory of what was said in her office because neither Tsunade nor Jiraiya suspected the bird was anything more than a simple bird. Unfortunately, what they were discussing confirmed Naruto's worst fears, and he realized Jiraiya was also involved. The Sannin, like Tsunade, had betrayed him, and Naruto was certain that this was only the beginning because the councils would also betray him. He wasn't sure how the clan heads would react, but none of them had ever given him a fair shake, and Naruto wasn't going to hope for the best. No. He was going to brace himself for the worst. So that's their plan, huh? Strip me of my chakra and the foxes before throwing my ass into a prison filled with depraved psychos until I'm dead or wish I was dead. Exclaimed Naruto angrily, with the fox in his gut growling in agreement. They are unworthy of your loyalty, Kit. You pushed yourself to bring back the Uchiha alive despite your opponent's lack of restraint, and this is the reward you get. From your godparents, no less. Kyuubi replied, with Naruto stiffening at the news. Kyuubi? How are you addressing me? Why? And what exactly do you mean by godparents? Are you saying that those two were supposed to look after me? Thought Naruto as the fox projected an image of itself in front of the boy. However, because Kyuubi was sealed inside the Uzumaki, only Naruto could see and hear him in this manner. It's not surprising you don't know. It was during the few days following your birth, with many calling for your death once word got out that you were my new vessel, that the perverted toad Sannin came to visit you in your crib, and trust me, he did not look happy to see you. I could tell he was using all his willpower not to kill you at that moment simply because you were more than just my vessel. Not to mention he also knew that your death at the time. You brought up my mother. What was her name? Who was my father? Please tell me. Thought Naruto as Kyuubi just looked at him for a moment, pondering the idea of answering the boy. Your mother was my previous vessel and had a much stronger seal. I only got out that night because she was giving birth to you. The seals on female Jinchuriki weaken when they are pregnant. The stress damages the seal and your father. Your father was there to ensure I didn't get out. Unfortunately for them. Things didn't go as planned, Kyuubi replied, Naruto's hands clenched. What happened? Thought Naruto as he noticed Kyuubi looking calm for the first time without the hatred or disgust that the great Biju usually had from their rare few times in each other's company. A man who proclaimed himself to be Uchiha Madara happened. I don't know if he is the real deal or not, but he broke through the barrier your mother was under during the pregnancy, held you hostage with explosive tags all over your 1-minute-old body, and got your father away from her before returning to rip me out. He used his Sharingan eyes to make me go berserk and attack the village. The rest, as they say, Kit, is history. Explained Kyuubi. And what about my father? You mentioned him and my mother, but never named them. What were their given names? Naruto thought, the fox now looking hesitant to say their names. Your mother's name is Uzumaki Kushina. She was born in Whirlpool, but came here before it was destroyed in the Second Shinobi War, and was a strong kunoichi for her age. As for your father? He was the Yondaime Hokage. The man who sealed me into you and the one every shinobi in Konoha loves, Kyuubi replied, Naruto looking enraged and almost foaming at the mouth. They love my father for sealing you into my body, but hate my guts at the same time? Where is the fucking justice in that? Naruto exclaimed loudly, unconcerned whether the Anbu outside his room could hear him. Unfortunately, there are none, Kit. Not yet. We must leave Konaha if we are to have any chance of survival. We must leave now. Exclaimed Kyuubi, with Naruto nodding while knowing his body was still not at full health due to Sasuke's stupid Chidori and then Tsunade's fists smashing into him moments ago. It was a miracle he didn't pass out on the way to his apartment. Fox, you took the words right out of my mouth. Do you think you could increase the regeneration and healing abilities you're giving my body? If I'm going to have a snowball's chance in hell of getting out of the village, I need to be at peak performance and ready to do some crazy shit to get away, Naruto reasoned as the fox smiled at him. Consider it done, Kit. You pack what you need, and I'll heal you up faster so there's no excuse if things go south on us, Kyuubi replied, with Naruto frowning. I won't let you down, Fox. That's not my nature when it comes to survival, Naruto thought, the fox grinning even more. I know, Kit. You're a lot like me in that regard. When it comes to survival, a wounded or cornered fox is far more dangerous than the most dangerous jackal, said Kyuubi, with Naruto smirking at the image of the fox only he could see before the image vanished. I'll do it, Fox. Will do, Naruto thought before getting what he needed and deciding to begin his little escape attempt with a bang. He began by looking at the Team 7 photo taken after they were declared a genin team before smashing it to the ground and rubbing his sandaled foot on it. Next, he removed the headband given to him by Iruka, who had once despised the Kyuubi Jinchuriki but had stopped to look at Naruto to see Naruto. But now, Naruto wasn't sure what to believe. What were the chances that Tsunade and Jiraiya still hated him after all this time, as Kakashi did? The odds were too stacked against Naruto. Shaking his head, Naruto crushed the headband, knowing that his action would represent not only the end of his loyalty to Konoha, but also the end of him being the naive and hopeful boy who believed the people would change. That they would no longer recognize him as the Kyuubi and instead recognize him as Uzumaki Naruto, a leaf shinobi. No. Those were the days. Every moment he spent in Konoha with these bigots was a slap in the face to his honor, life, and continued existence in the world. Throwing the shattered headband to the ground, Uzumaki pulled out an explosive tag he had. Ah, screw it. He stole it from the weapon shop that refused to sell it to him and decided to take what they wouldn't sell him. He made sure some stuff was under the bedsheets once he was on the pillow on his bed, with some hay used from his piece of crap mattress being used for blonde hair. Jiraiya was going to take him away in the morning to have his chakra sealed off, but what the old fool was going to get was a rude awakening of his own, and it was going to be a well-deserved one. The boy smirked at the prospect of Jiraiya entering his home, thinking it would be simple, until, bang. Barbecued Sannin. Naruto decided it was time to get the hell out of Konoha, and he had the perfect way to do so. In the event that invaders who came into his home to break things decided to break him with blunt or point weapons, Naruto had built a trapdoor under his bed for an instant escape before anyone could get to the bedroom, as well as a direct tunnel out of Konoha. The disadvantage? It was a long-ass tunnel that would take him the rest of the day and night to escape Konoha's walls without being discovered by the shinobi patrolling outside. That meant he only had a half day, if not a few hours, before Konoha dispatched every hunter nin and Konoha shinobi in the village to track him down. So, what was I doing standing around here? The following morning, Jiraiya entered Naruto's apartment. It's not surprising that the boy was the only tenant in the building, as having the Kyuubi Jinchuriki living there reduces its value. The Sannin entered the boy's room on the top floor, which had no locks that prevented him from entering. Not surprising given that the sides of the door appeared to have been replaced multiple times due to vandals kicking it down. Jiraiya didn't care if they did or not. It wouldn't matter because the boy would no longer be a resident here, and the value would rise again. Something the Sannin would have to tell the landlord once Naruto was taken care of. Time to permanently remove the fox from his den, Jiraiya thought as he saw the lump on the bed with the blonde hair looking a little untidy, but ignored that and viciously pulled the bedsheets off the boy in the hopes of disorienting him before subduing the brat. What he got was a filthy bed, straw from the mattress mistaken for blonde bed hair, and an explosive tag activated by a proximity sensor. Taking a step back in surprise, Jiraiya's foot broke something beneath it to reveal the picture of Team 7, which had clearly been stepped on. Next to it was the shattered Konoha headband that the Chunin Iruka had given Naruto as proof of his graduation. Jiraiya realized he only had a few moments before this place was blown up to high hell in him with it if he didn't get out of there. Acting quickly, the Sannin jumped out of a nearby window seconds before the explosion ripped through the entire building, rolling with the landing before coming to a stop inches from hitting the wall of the house next door. It didn't take long for the Hokage and several of her Anbu to arrive at the scene, their eyes wide with curiosity like Jiraiya's. Tsunade ordered every available hunter nin, Anbu, Junin, and Chunin to look for Naruto before bringing him back after the Sannin explained the situation. It was up to them how badly they were beaten, and the use of lethal force was authorized. Bring him back. I want him brought before me in chains, his body and spirit broken, and his eyes filled with defeat. Tsunade commanded, the leaf shinobi around her nodding before the scattered. He couldn't have gotten that far. I'll help in the search as well, Jiraiya said before departing to find Naruto, leaving Tsunade fuming at the sight of the destroyed building in front of her. The image of Team 7 was floating down at her feet, partially lit aflame, before being devoured by the fire. Tsunade, if she hadn't known any better, would have taken it as a bad omen for herself and the rest of Konoha. She probably would have thought the same thing if she had looked to her right and seen the destroyed headband in its current state, with the fire burning the metal into a melted slab. Along with Naruto. Damn. I need to hurry. I don't even have as much time as I thought I'd have at the start of this plan, Naruto thought to himself before creating hundreds upon hundreds of shadow clones and scattering them all over the place to confuse his pursuers. Head north, Kit. Wave Country is full of people who like you, Kyuubi suggested, nodding and quickening his pace. Unfortunately, his shadow clones were rapidly dwindling in number, and all of their memories of how they died began to flood his mind. Struggling to concentrate, the blonde was soon pursued by a masked Konoha shinobi, though it was clear that the man wasn't Anbu, but rather someone who had borrowed one of their masks and didn't want his face to be seen. This man also reminded me of someone I knew. Something he couldn't put his finger on and wondered why. Looks like I found the real you, said the masked leaf shinobi as Naruto stared him down. What do you want? A prize? Sarcastically asked Naruto, knowing he needed to get out of here and continuing to run despite the pursuit. Yeah. Your head. Replied the masked shinobi, drawing a katana and moving to remove something from Naruto's body. Naruto barely avoided the sword strikes because he wasn't in top shape despite the fox's chakra repairing the damage, and the Kyuubi explained that the Yondaimi's seal was meant to keep a lot of his power back to prevent possible possession. So whatever Kyuubi could do to heal his body was all Naruto had to deal with until they could take a break. Of course, if they were given the opportunity. The chase had to have lasted at least 15 minutes before Naruto found himself on a large cliff face with nowhere to go. Leaping down would be suicide, and the Uzumaki doubted that even Kyuubi could heal him if he fell down the jagged rock edge. Naruto looked from the cliff to the masked shinobi, who was clearly trying to conceal his identity from him, and beckoned the man to attack. If Uzumaki Naruto was going to die, he was going to make sure this guy died quickly and painfully before the others arrived. Kyuubi, what are the chances we'd survive the fall below if we jumped, or would we be thrown off the side of this cliff by something? With Kyuubi thinking for a moment, thought Naruto. Let me put it this way, if you decide to jump, make sure it's the only course open to you, and warn me before you do it, Kyuubi replied, with Naruto nodding because the fox would need some time to gather chakra to flood the boy's body in order to heal it. Unfortunately, That conversation with the fox cost him his life, as the masked Konoha shinobi saw this as an opportunity to strike, and the Uzumaki took a quick step back to avoid the sword aimed at his head. Unfortunately, Naruto moved a split second too late, as the sword was coming at him from an angle he could fully dodge, and felt the blade slice into his flesh up through his right eye. Normally, Naruto wouldn't have to worry about such an injury because Kyuubi could heal it quickly, but the Shoden's necklace, which Tsunade had given him after winning their bet, had been struck with the blade, with tiny shards entering the wound around his eye. The jewel had the ability to suppress a Bijuu's chakra when combined with someone who had the ability to suppress a Bijuu, such as the Shoden himself. It also worked if the high level of chakra was sent into the jewel to awaken its properties, which unfortunately for Naruto at the time, he was unknowingly doing. Clutching his face and feeling the blood drain from his wound, Naruto glared at the leaf shinobi while reaching for a kunai with his free hand, just in time to deflect another sword strike. The blonde could tell the man behind the mask was pleased to see he had injured the so-called Kyuubi brat in such a way, and no doubt figured the injury would earn him a large sum of money from the Hokage. Naruto snarled at the man and dodged and blocked several more attempts before closing his injured eye and using his bloody-covered hand to grab the wrist of the enemy's weapon-wielding arm, breaking it at the wrist. While the Konoha shinobi cried out in pain and the sword fell to the ground, Naruto channeled Kyuubi's chakra into his kunai holding hand before stabbing the man in the gut while twisting the kunai hard. Naruto took some satisfaction in this, because the kunai was coated in Kyuubi's chakra, leaving a permanent mark on the fool that no amount of Tsunade's medical prowess could fix. Hurts, doesn't it? It's not nice to have someone stabbing you in the gut, huh? To have to look at your attacker while he does it and see his smile with eyes that gleam at you with a sense of victory. With a sense of pride in his work at hurting someone who didn't deserve to be hurt. The only difference between us in that situation is you deserved this along with the rest of the leaf shinobi in Konoha. Both shinobi looked down to see a kunai with an explosive tag hissing loudly in anticipation of the impending explosion. When Naruto looked up to see where the object had come from, he noticed Hitaki Kakashi in the trees with his Sharingan eye exposed. "This is for Minato-sensei," Kakashi declared, with Naruto spitting on the ground in front of him. "Fuck you, hypocrite," Naruto retorted before leaping off the cliff just as the explosive tag went off and the Uzumaki fell to his doom. "Do you think he survived?" asked the masked shinobi before turning to look at Kakashi, who walked to the new cliff edge and spun his Sharingan eye down below. "Hard to say. Kyuubi's chakra is there, but it's faint, as if it gave out recently, and yet it's masking everything like a blanket, so I can't get a fix on the brat's chakra signature. Still, I doubt he's alive, but we'll make sure just to be safe, and go around to find a safe way to down there to search. You head back to Konoha to get your wound treated before it gets serious." "No, I need to do this. This chapter in my life needs to be closed forever, and I need the closure," the masked Konoha shinobi replied, with Kakashi looking at him for a few seconds before pulling his headband down to conserve chakra. "Alright, it's your life, but I expect you to get that wound treated when we get back, or head back if it becomes too much to handle," Kakashi replied, nodding the masked Konoha shinobi. "I can take it. My family would want me to endure this for them," said the man behind the mask, and the two returned the way they came in search of a path that would lead them down below. Along with Naruto. As he struggled to get away from the hillside he had fallen down and smacked against several times, Naruto coughed up blood, his body racked with pain. His body most likely had many broken bones, mostly along his ribs, one of his legs, if not both, and one of his arms was completely paralyzed. His face was slightly mangled and messed up, but with the exception of his eye, that part of him was beginning to heal. He was battered and bloodied, and he was losing a lot of the latter with each painful step his broken body took. "Don't you dare give up on me, boy. Move it. I will not allow you, and by extension me, to die here knowing that the 3 remaining Uchiha in this world outlived us." exclaimed Kyuubi inside Naruto's head while using his chakra to combat the damn seal that was holding him back so it could work on the brat's body in healing him. Furball, what do you think I'm doing? Sitting on my behind? My body is a mess. I should be dead by all rights to everything in the universe. I was furious, Naruto thought as the fox grinned at him. True. By all rights, you should be dead. But you aren't. Whether because you are too stubborn to die or because my power is assisting. I don't know. What I do know is that you now have a chance at surviving, and we're going to milk it for all it's worth, replied Kyuubi, Naruto grinning slightly despite his pain. Uzumaki Naruto has arrived in Wave Country. Sometime later Hokage Tower. What do you mean you lost him? I wanted that brat brought back to life. Tsunade exclaimed angrily. He was causing me problems, so Kakashi threw a kunai with an explosive tag on it at the edge of the cliff, and the Kyuubi brat jumped off the cliff moments before the explosion and fell downward into the forest region below, the injured masked shinobi explained before being healed by the Hokage. I was hoping to make the dumb monster think twice about being on the cliff edge, explained Kakashi, but he flinched when Tsunade glared at him, and she resumed her work on healing the Junin's partner in this. Well, the brat was never one to think the way we do, or act the way we hoped he would, so the fact you didn't find a body means he's still alive. I'd have Jiraiya reverse summon him, but the stupid pervert already removed Naruto from the Toad summoning contract, and it's now impossible to bring him back that way, Tsunade explained, with Kakashi sighing. There was a blood trail, but it ended when we got to the beach where it leads right into the water. In his condition, I doubt the brat swam, so a boat is the only answer, and the Kyuubi Jinchuriki could have gone anywhere after getting out to sea, Kakashi replied, seeing the Hokage become even angrier. Put him in the bingo book. Put a bounty on him with the order to bring him back to us alive. Whether he comes back in one piece is optional, Tsunade said, as Kakashi nodded and exited the room. He'll be found, Hokage-sama, I promise you, the masked Konoha shinobi said as Tsunade continued to heal his wound. I know he will, Tsunade said, nodding. As for you, the wound the brat hit you with can be closed, but there will be a scar that will cause you grief forever. Everything about that Kyuubi brat has caused me grief. Why should this scar he's given me be any different? Said the man as he exited the room after the Hokage finished speaking. We have a problem, Jiraiya explained after entering through the window. No shit. The brat got away and is out at sea, Tsunade replied, shaking his head. No, that's not it. The Suna siblings are demanding an answer to the growing rumor of Naruto being arrested for completing the mission to bring back the Uchiha, Jiraiya explained, the Hokage furious. Tell them to get out of Konoha. I don't care if it jeopardizes our new alliance. I'm not going to deal with them right now, Tsunade replied, with Jiraiya nodding. If Naruto gets to one of the areas he helped and tells what we tried to do. Jiraiya said, leaving the possibility of what might happen hanging in the air. He's badly injured, in a boat, at the mercy of the sea, with no food or fresh water to keep him alive. All the brat has is Kyuubi, and even that monster won't sustain him forever. He may have luck, but not even Naruto's luck can save him now. That boy is going to die a slow agonizing death, and I only regret not being there every step of the way to see him die. Replied Tsunade, Jiraiya. The other places Naruto helped will want answers as well, and the village isn't exactly keeping quiet about him fleeing, Jiraiya explained, Tsunade growling at this new annoyance. We'll lie for as long as we can and then lie some more when we apologize for lying, Tsunade replied, with Jiraiya nodding in agreement. Works for me, Jiraiya replied before exiting through the window once more. Gaki, rot in hell. Tsunade thought with a victorious smirk on her face, knowing she had finally won in this time. She did not fear any of the future consequences that would come her way like they normally did when winning a gamble. What could the world possibly throw at her now? Every single picture frame in the Senju clan home that held physical memories of Uzumaki Mito, Uzumaki Kushina, and any other picture with an Uzumaki in it that the home possessed, violently shattered. With Naruto, second son. His boat landed on the beach. Not the shores of Fire Country, but of foreign soil, and the Uzumaki knew from previous experience that this soil belonged to those in Wave. He fell off the boat while thanking the fox for closing most of his wounds so the salt water wouldn't be too painful on the ones that remained. Naruto looked around and saw Lady Lucky was indeed throwing him a bone, and he found himself parked right next to old man Tsunade's house. Struggling on his hands and knees, the blonde crawled to the doorstep of the family he had saved from the tyrant Gado, and to some extent from Momochi Zabuza, whom the short in stature fool had hired to do the job for him. Naruto knocked on the door with what strength he had left before collapsing on the ground, and barely heard the woman who answered gasp. Naruto fell into darkness as the woman called his name, and he could barely see the form of the boy who believed heroes still existed in the world. At a later date, Naruto opened his eyes to find himself in a comfortable bed. Much better than the junk he had in his old, now destroyed apartment. As he sat up on the bed, Naruto noticed that he was wearing an undershirt and boxers that were not his own. Ignoring that for the time being, the blonde slowly rolled out of bed, wincing at his still achy body, and made his way downstairs to join the rest of the family for breakfast. Tsunade exclaimed, "Naruto!" as she saw him walk down the steps, and quickly moved to help the boy to the nearest chair where he could sit. "Damn you, kid. You look worse than all of my hangovers combined," Tsunade responded, with Inari looking worriedly at his surrogate big brother. "What happened? When we found you on our doorstep, you appeared to be half dead," Inari exclaimed, his mother giving him a scolding look. "Inari, don't say things like that," Tsunade replied in a tone that warned her son to be careful what he said in front of their guest. "Tsunade-san, don't worry." Inari was not far off. "I was only half dead. I'd been at sea for 2 days with no food or water, and my body was already in bad shape. Someone in authority must either love me or have a sick sense of humor." Tsunade went over to the kitchen area to get him some food, followed by Naruto while he looked at the old man. "How did that happen?" Tsunade inquired, and Naruto responded awkwardly. "Dad. Do not ask him if he is not prepared. Oh, and Naruto-kun, your clothes won't be ready to wear until later. I need to wash and sew them together. To be honest, a boy like you should probably wear something other than orange all the time," Tsunade replied, smirking as Tsunade drank his coffee. "That kid is not a child, my dear. Not based on what I saw in that department when I had to put on his shirt and underwear. Seriously. Is the kid related to a regal horse or something? No kid should be that endowed," thought Tsunade, trying not to imagine what his daughter would have done if she had been the one to change the gaki. He'd be preparing to become a grandfather for the second time, and Inari would be preparing for a younger brother. That's exactly what would happen. That's perfectly fine. I no longer want to wear them. They are clothes from my previous life in Konaha, and I have a few other pieces of clothing in my size that aren't quite so, well, fashionably bad to the human eye. Tsunade had a chibi version of himself dancing around with booze in hand at hearing this wonderful news, replied Naruto. Old life? Inari asked, as Naruto sighed. Yeah. You've heard of my teammate Uchiha Sasuke, right? The one with dark hair the shape of a duck's butt, who is always brooding and cares about nothing but himself. Tsunade grunted in response to Naruto's question. I recall him. The kid was conceited. Naruto nodded in response to Tsunade's question. He chose to betray Konoha in exchange for power from another former Leaf Shinobi, Orochimaru of the Sannin. He was a really bad guy who did horrible things to people, which is why he went rogue, and he's not someone you should leave Inari with. Anyway, I was part of the team tasked with finding the jerk before he crossed the border from Fire Country into Rice Country, where Orochimaru would be waiting for him. We encountered some opposition in the form of Sannin's personal bodyguards, and believe me when I say they were formidable. We ran a gauntlet to catch up to Sasuke, and it all came down to a one-on-one fight between me and him. The team was authorized to use force if necessary, but we were not permitted to kill him, so I held back, and Sasuke. Well. He didn't. Tsunade gasped, and the other two members of her family looked shocked as she responded to Naruto. He actually tried to kill you? Tsunade asked, and Naruto nodded. He did more than try, to be sure. Almost succeeded. I was attacked by an assassination jutsu that entered my heart. Another time, he threw me off a cliff and onto solid rock below in a ravine we were fighting over. That time, I almost broke my neck, but my special ability, which I've had since I was a baby, kept me alive and allowed me to bring the jerk back, Naruto replied while deciding to keep Kyuubi's secret from them in case they feared the fox and him even more. So, why are you leaving? You finished the mission, so you deserved a hero's welcome, right? Tsunade inquired, with Naruto staring him down with pain-filled eyes. No. There was no greeting for me. The shinobi who was waiting for us took Sasuke, but left me on my knees, screaming in pain from my injuries and dragging the Uchiha back into Konoha by myself. I barely make it to my apartment before people start looking for me with the intent to kill, and one of the Hokage's shinobi knocks on my door. He was fighting the urge to take a kunai and ram it into my skull while telling me that the Hokage wanted to see me. I've only been in her office for 5 seconds and she's already throwing projectiles at me with her incredible strength. She blamed me for Sasuke's condition when I returned him, despite the fact that I was responsible for the majority of the blood on his clothes and skin. She then grabs me and uses my body as a punching bag, though I have a feeling an actual punching bag would have gotten more respect. I can see her hatred, spite, and outright contempt for me when I look her in the eyes. So I spit in her face, breaking free from her clutches, and jumped out the window of the Hokage tower to my apartment. I had a shadow clone disguise itself as a bird to spy on her while she was speaking with Jiraiya of the Sannin, the author of those perverted orange books and sensei to the Yondaime Hokage. They were going to seal off my chakra and then throw me into the maximum security section of Konoha's prison for all shinobi they catch who are sentenced to life in prison, Naruto explained, with everyone looking shocked. But for you, such a place would be hell on earth. How long would they keep you there? Tsunade inquired, Naruto smiling an empty sad smile. Forever and ever, until the day I die. That is, I would either die in the prison at the hands of the inmates or at the hands of the guards, given that no one in Konoha gives a damn about me. Dying of old age is a distant third option for me, but by then I'd probably be wishing I died much sooner and be a broken shell of my former self, Naruto responded, with Tsunade and the others looking shocked by his words. But why would they do such a thing? What could be the Hokage's motivation? Tsunade inquired, Naruto looking hesitant to respond. If I tell you, do you promise not to hate me? Asked Naruto, as the family looked at him and then at each other in surprise. Without a doubt. We can maintain an open mind, Naruto nodded in response to Tsunade's question. The strongest of the Biju, known as Kyuubi, attacked the leaf on the day I was born. It snarled, roared, and rampaged through the lead, killing many people in the process. The Yondaime Hokage knew that the only way to prevent the Biju from wreaking havoc was to seal it in a recently born baby, and by recently born, I mean less than an hour after the child was born. The Yondaime Hokage sealed the Kyuubi into that newborn child and saved the village from annihilation. At the expense of his own life, so far in the story, Naruto has answered with his family. As a result, the man died a hero. How about the child? Tsunade inquired, Naruto shaking his head no. He was despised. He was despised. The child was thought to be either a monster for possessing the Biju or the Biju made human. As a result, people went out of their way to harm the child at every opportunity. Beatings, stabbings, poisoning of food, and the food that wasn't poisoned was moldy. Ironically, the only reason the boy survived for as long as he did was because the fox's chakra would heal his injuries in a matter of moments. Naruto responded with Tsunade gasping, Inari now angry, and Tsunade looking like he wanted to drown himself in sake. You were the kid with the Kyuubi. Is you, said Tsunade at last with Tsunami and Inari looking at Naruto now with the blonde nodding. Yeah. Remember the night Inari yelled at my team about not understanding what true suffering was, and I stormed out after getting in his face. You now understand why, Inari. Your life was made difficult by Gado, but the life of a Jinchuriki is far worse, and there are 9 of us in total. Have you ever heard of Sabaku no Gara, a shinobi village in Suna? His own father, the Kazekage, hired assassins to kill him, and Gaara's own uncle tried to do the same because they both despised him so much. Gaara's father saw him as a defective weapon, while his uncle lost his sister in the process of transforming him into a Jinchuriki. The Biju within Gaara provides him with what many consider to be the ultimate defense, ensuring that no one ever physically harms Gaara as a result of his sand shielding him from harm, Naruto explained, with Inari looking ashamed of himself for saying those words to his big brother when he was still moping. Damn you, kid. That's... wow. Tsunade replied because that was all he could say. Yeah. I'm now on the run. It won't be long before they have Hunter Nin looking for me or declaring me dead after that fall off the cliff. In any case, I'm screwed because I can't stay here and endanger your lives. I may have been declared dead in Konoha, but that will only satisfy the Hokage for so long before she dispatches Hunter Nin or other Konoha shinobi to the locations where I am welcome. One of them is your house, and I doubt they'll be civil if they find out I'm there, Naruto replied, his family looking depressed because they didn't want him to leave. Wait. I think I know a great place where you can hide and no one will find you. Tsunade exclaimed, Inari smacking his brow. Grandpa. Stop using those words or I'll assist Mom in making this a dry house. Tsunade's face turned pale as Inari spoke. Sorry. I'll be fine. But seriously, I know the ideal location. Do you know what Whirlpool Country is? Tsunade inquired, and Naruto nodded because Kyuubi had told him about it during their 2-day boat trip. Yeah. It belonged to the Uzumaki clan, from which I am descended on my mother's side. Tsunade's smile widened as she responded to Naruto. Wave Country used to be a part of Whirlpool. After all these years, the continent isn't that far away. I know a guy who can take you there to keep you alive until the heat dies down, and I'm sure there are some relics lying around there that you can learn to use to get stronger. The fact that the place is a shambles does not imply that those who made it that way were able to destroy everything about the Uzumaki clan in general, Tsunade replied, with Naruto nodding because he wished to visit his mother's homeland. The sooner you start, the better. No offense, but the sooner I'm out of your hair, the better for you and for me, especially now that Konoha isn't on my tail. By the time they arrive, any trace of me will be considered old or non-existent, Naruto responded, and Tsunade nodded in agreement. I'll contact the boat driver later today. You should just relax for the time being and spend time with my family. Tsunade said this while giving the blonde a firm pat on the shoulder to reassure her. Kami is aware that the boy required it. Several days later, Whirlpool. Whirlpool is the brand. It's both new and familiar. Kyuubi. Should I be feeling this way? With the Kyuubi stirring in his cage, Naruto inquired. Perhaps. I'm not sure. By blood, you are an Uzumaki. I can feel the souls stirring around this place, Kyuubi was answered with Naruto nodding because he was hearing things as well. They have betrayed us. We want justice. Please avenge us. They must be punished. Hurt them as they have hurt us. As his blood came alive in him, Naruto could hear all the souls of his long-lost kin, and he began to breathe heavily while hearing the various things they were saying. He didn't know what they were talking about at first, but as the blonde walked through the ruins of his old home, he heard a crunching sound and looked down to see him step on something metallic. It was a headband with a ninja on it. It wasn't just any ninja headband, though. It was a Konaha ninja headband. Naruto's eyes widened before he picked it up, the cries of the Uzumaki clan becoming louder in his ears, and he was bombarded with images from the past. The Konoha shinobi were present the day Whirlpool fell and the Uzumaki clan was nearly wiped out. But the Konoha shinobi were not present on that fateful day to save Whirlpool country or the Uzumaki clan. They had come to kill nearly all of them. How many people did you slaughter? There are quite a few. You? The same here. Jiraiya-sama, where are you? Securing the Uzumaki girl chosen to be Kyuubi's next vessel. The other is growing too old to handle the beast. To think, the Shogun Hokage married her and never used her as a weapon against our enemies. Hopefully, the Sandaime Hokage will not repeat the same error and train this new bitch to do what she is told in times of war. Don't be concerned. If he doesn't, Danzo-sama will, and our enemies will be annihilated. Naruto didn't want to hear anything else from the long-forgotten past, so he crushed the symbol of his treacherous village in his hand. The cries of his people, his true family, rang out loudly, and he realized that the only way forward was to exact revenge on Konoha. So you've arrived. My replacement. Naruto's rage faded for a moment as he heard the loudest and most commanding voice of them all. It drowned out all other voices and began walking towards the one he sensed was guiding him to a massive mountain in the distance. Come on, young man. Come to me, my heir. Naruto made his way through the harsh terrain of the forest ahead of him, killing vicious wild animals the size of a full-grown man. He had a few wounds on his body as a result of his efforts, and he had yet to discover where this voice was leading him. Was there even a spirit guiding him, or had he gone insane? When Naruto arrived at the mountain's base, he was astounded to see so many swords marking the graves of fallen warriors, and he could hear them calling out to him, cheering him on for returning home like a hero from some great war after years of pain, suffering, and rumors of his death from the conflict. These souls welcomed him, and Naruto welcomed them back because they were his long-lost kin. Are you feeling and seeing this, Kyuubi? Naruto inquired, the fox nodding in agreement on both counts. Kit, yes. But don't play around. Find the one who calls to you. Something very powerful is nearby. Something I haven't felt since before I was born. Naruto frowned as he replied to Kyuubi. What do you mean by, before your creation, fox? Asked Naruto, as Kyuubi fell silent. Come closer, my heir. You're nearly there. I've been expecting you for a long time. Instead of getting an answer to his question from Kyuubi, Naruto walked past row after row of swords until he came to a halt in front of one with a powerful aura surrounding it and beckoned the blonde to touch it. Naruto, not one to go against his instincts, felt himself kneeling before this great weapon and gently placing a hand on the sword's handle. Everything around Naruto, including the sword, vanished in an instant, and he was surrounded by a brilliant white light. Behind the weapon stood a tall, well-muscled man with an eye patch on his face, which he could tell had seen battle from the scars on his face, and he stood like a warrior. He crossed his arms in front of him and looked down at Naruto with analytical eyes. He was dressed in a mix of shinobi and samurai garb, designed to give him flexibility while also allowing him to take a hit when dodging was not an option. "Welcome back, Uzumaki. Though I am surprised to see the direct descendant of my blood kneeling before me in such a state," said the figure with Naruto standing still and staring at him in awe. "Direct ancestor? I'm not sure I understand. What is your name?" Naruto inquired, the figure's one eye narrowing at him. "Uzumaki Genshin is my name. One of the Sage of Six Paths' 3 sons. Wielder of the legendary Rinnegan and the infamous Jubi sword," Genshin replied, Naruto's one eye widening at the sight of his ancestor. "What about the Jubi? Do you not mean Kyuubi?" Naruto inquired, Genshin shaking his head no. Before the 9 Biju, there was only one Biju called the Jubi, who was sealed inside the Sage of Six Paths to become the first Jinchuriki. Following the sealing, he used the broken fang from his battle with Jubi to fashion the sword you are now holding, which can only be wielded by someone directly descended from that man. Before his death, he divided the Jubi into 9 chakra-based animals, which became the Biju. Because each of the sage's 3 sons inherited this power from him while he held the Jubi, they could all be controlled by someone of the sage's bloodline. I was his 3rd son, but he never considered me one of his children for reasons he would never reveal, and he declared that I would inherit nothing from him. Following the sage's death, the 2 sons he did acknowledge as his own offspring quickly fought for the right to succeed him, ignoring me in the process. I didn't mind because I didn't care for such things and never thought they deserved to be called my brothers in the first place. So I took the sword of Jubi and fled before they could accuse me of stealing something that didn't belong to a bastard child, unworthy of such power. I told them that if they wanted the sword of Jubi so badly, they should fight me for it and see if they are truly worthy of the title, Sons of the Sage of Six Paths. During the battle, I revealed the Rinnegan to both of my illegitimate brothers and easily beat them to within an inch of their lives while they were both at my mercy. Finally, on a whim, I spared them and told both those bakas to leave me alone. Or else. Finally, seeing as they had no choice but to do so while helpless, they agreed, and I never saw them again while I formed my own clan here in Whirlpool, Genshin explained, seeing Naruto nod and absorb the story being told in front of him, with the events described by the spirit appearing around him. What became of the 2 brothers? What happened to them? With Genshin scoffing, Naruto asked. They continued to feud with one another, burying me in the back of their minds until they were strong enough to oppose me. They never did, and each brother soon formed his own clan, which would one day join forces to build the Leaf Village in Fire Country. You may recognize them as the Senju and Uchiha clans, who have the ability to manipulate the Biju in the same way that the Uzumaki clan does, Genshin responded, with Naruto looking stunned by the news. That's why they lavished him with attention. They want Sasuke Teme to open his eyes and use me as a weapon, with him pulling the strings while they pull theirs. Naruto yelled angrily, while Genshin raised an eyebrow at his descendant. Show me your memories, young man. I can tell you've been through a lot in your short life, with the Senju and the Uchiha at the center of it all. Naruto nodded, and Genshin felt the Uzumaki spirit enter his mind to see his memories. In the end, Genshin's face was filled with rage, and the aura around the sword grew to match the spirit's rage. Looking down at Naruto, the Uzumaki spirit noticed the boy's one eye had been damaged in a recent fight. If you look at my eye, the reason Kyuubi hasn't healed it is because pieces of the Shodems got stuck in it, and the overall energy generated by my chakra caused the jewel's power to activate. Because the fox cannot heal it, I am left with only one good eye. Naruto said this after noticing Genshin staring at his damaged eye. I know. I saw a flashback to that time. Still, one does not need their eyes to be a great shinobi, and by following me, you will become even greater than I. You will train here under my supervision and tutelage, and make Konaha regret ever touching you, Genshin responded, with Naruto humbly bowing before him. I gratefully accept Genshin generous sensei's offer. Teach me everything you know, and I will become a shinobi worthy of the title of your successor. The Uchiha, the Senju, Jiraiya of the Sannin, and any other enemies who arise during the process will fall into my hands. I will not spare them. I'll make them beg for death, just like they tried to make me do so many times growing up, Naruto declared, Genshin now smiling at him. Take the Jubi sword from the ground, my student. I will now direct you from within your own body. Naruto obeyed Genshin's command and lifted the sword from the ground, the sides of the blade glowing with life. Naruto had sheathed the weapon gently into the thick scabbard before walking away from the sacred gravesite, grinning for the first time in a long time that something was finally going his way. He was their hero. The one capable of obtaining justice for the Uzumaki clan, which had been denied for decades, if not centuries, when Genshin himself was scorned by his father, the Sage of Six Paths, while being called illegitimate. It was past time for the Uzumaki clan to receive the justice it had been denied for so long.
So that's it for today. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Don't forget to like, share and subscribe to the channel for more awesome stories like this. Thank you. See you all in my next video.